Hi crafters, this is Paulette. I am here with a very late Easter project that has taken me forever to get through. So I thought I would share just a little bit. These are paper pieced blocks. So this is a pattern that I got off of Patty Anderson's blog. It's www.patchpieces.com. And here is the little chick block. Now these are designed to be a 3x3 block. If you print this out and make each piece and then stitch this all together, then it's going to be 3x3 finished. Well, do you know how many 3x3 pieces it would take me to make something this big? And this is small. Oh my gosh, it's 14 inches by 14.5 inches, and I'm not that thrilled or that pleased with it. I had thought about doing something in a line like this. That's why I had 3 eggs in the small chick to begin with, and then I realized I needed another chick or something else. I even printed some butterfly patterns. I even made a rabbit pattern that's up there because I thought, well, that would be really cute. I could have a rabbit and a couple of eggs and a couple of chicks, and that would be 5 pieces, and then that would be a really nice table runner or something to put on your kitchen island. Well, the way I'm too creative, or you could say I can't focus. The grass is greener on the other side. And so I have this shoe box full of patterns. So what I ended up doing is organizing, and I just lost some, I think, maybe? No? I organized my patterns by groups. So I had kind of a garden, veggies, birds, the chicks, the chickens. I have a really cute little book here that I picked up somewhere secondhand that's cats and dogs. And so maybe I'll do something maybe like that. There's an alphabet quilt, and I've got all the letters in here, and so on and so forth. People. Oh my gosh. All of my nautical things, fall and Christmas as well. So it goes on, and I think I'm even missing some. I'm just positive that I've got some teapots and teacups somewhere, and they are not anywhere in with this stuff. I printed so many of those things that it gets out of hand. I need things that are bigger as well. So these little 3x3 patterns, here was a really cute one. Who was this by? This is www.winnow, WINNOWING.com. And there's a pattern that I made that I thought I was going to use. Because once you get into this, you're like, oh my gosh, I could make some patterns. I printed some butterflies that I thought I might use. But they were going to be small. I had some patterns. I had this carrot pattern, and I blew it up to 8x8 because I thought if everything was 8x8, I could get done fast. But in my excitement of blowing some of these things up, and let's see, my chicks are down here. I overdid. Here's the carrot and the chick. Well, then there was going to be no border. Nothing to separate them. And I really liked the idea of having border around them so that they would be featured in the center of the block, if that makes any sense at all. So I've gone back to my computer and scanner and rescanned these and resized them. Ultimately, this is this bigger chick here, which I thought would be cute, like mama and baby chick, and would have been really sweet if I could have figured out how to flip it. The program that I was using, I could not figure out how to flip it, so they just ultimately are facing the same direction. And I guess Patty's pattern, when I was making this, I was thinking, oh, I'm just a freak. I have to cut my patterns apart, and ultimately hers is this head piece and the upper back piece is in two pieces, and then you make this block, and then you make this block, and then you unite them together with a seam down the middle, and then you make this piece here, because paper piecing is, you have to do things in stages. So like this big body piece is done first, then you add this, the 3 piece and the 2 piece, then you can add the number 4 piece down here, and I don't know, trying to enlarge it this way, I couldn't get it with all of these seam allowances, I couldn't get it to be 8 by 8 size, you know, printable 8 by 8. So I had to cut, I scanned it, then cut these pieces out without the seam allowance, which was a huge mistake because I needed those seam allowances. Or I could have printed them on separate paper and added the seam allowances back. That would have been a really good idea, Paulette. So I ended up making that really large pattern. After making all of these small chicks and having to beef, I had to go in and scrap and beef this up ridiculously to get it to be an 8 by 8 block to match my egg size so that I could still use it. I created all these little chick blocks first, so I had 5 of them. I didn't want to waste that time, so I beefed that up and added extra green to make that, you know, these are for family, so they're not going to know any different. They're not going to care. I enlarged this to 8 by 8. Which, still not thinking about it, Patty's pattern, the original pattern, is made to, see here's the chick block, it's a standalone block, but it's made to add all of this bordering around, and then that gives you all that extra space around the block itself. So I made these patterns and they were too big, there was still no, you know, I couldn't add extra. Because again, the eggs, I'd already made the eggs. They were the 8 by 8. So I had to go back to the computer and the scanner and shrink this down a little bit so that I would still have some border around here. The original block is still right here. And in order to make it 8 by 8, I was like, okay, I need to add this space here. So I just did that. Well, it just kind of got complicated. And in doing so, I've really botched up my big chick. I failed to add that 1/4 inch seam allowance that needed to be on both sides of the block here. So, and then I was supposed to trim this down. I forgot to trim it. I just used extra scraps that were already cut. And I should have trimmed this down to 1/4 inch, and I failed to do that, so my head did not match my body here, nor did it match the back here. But by the time I had it stitched, I had already ripped out with the seam ripper a bunch of stuff, like where I'd sewed, you know, backs to fronts and the wrong directions and different things. So I was like, I'm not ripping that out because I had done all of them because I do it assembly line, just like I do my card making. So they were all like this. So I was like, you know what? It's just going to have to roll. And probably when you look at it as an overall entity, it is probably okay. Then I had the extra egg. I had originally thought I would do 5 blocks and just have a long table runner. And then I was like, well, my daughter's table is round and my daughter-in-law's table is square, but not super big. So I thought this would work, this 4-block configuration would work best for both of them. And so that's just what I did for all the rest of us as well. I made one for myself, one for my mom, and one for my niece. I'm trying to make things for my niece so that she can save them, and then she'll use them when she has her own home. So a little love from Aunt Paulette. So I think this worked out okay. I used the extra egg for a pot holder. And some of my strategy, I don't know, I deviate here and there. By the time I got down to the pot holders, I had enough forethought to stitch the batting, which was like a very thick felt. It's that natural batting stuff. I actually stitched it to my block before I put the backing on. So it doesn't, that stitching doesn't show through here to the back. And I was thinking, well, I would like for these to be used either way. If they didn't want to use them for Easter, they could use, this nice blue. I thought this would be a nice summer color. And so that got stitched down, and I did the top stitching. I already knew I was going to do the top stitching on my big piece, but I don't know. I was very tempted to stitch in the ditch just for the crisscross and be done. But I was afraid because this backing fabric it's kind of loosely woven, and fabric travels. This is one of, what am I going to call it? A mental block. This is one reason I don't quilt. Because when you sew layers together, the fabric is going to travel and it's going to pucker on the back. So I did not do the stitch in the ditch. I ended up stitching around each item 1/8 of an inch, and where it came and joined my top stitching around the edge, I just stitched right along that because I didn't want that to be past that. I thought it would look odd. So I think they turned out okay. I'm fairly pleased with them. By the time I got done with them, I was so relieved to be done. I've been sitting at the sewing machine for 7 days. Yeah, 7 days straight. Not all day, but oh my gosh. So, there were just sometimes I just had to get up and walk away. I thought my egg pattern was the same person, but it's not. It's a different person. It's www.winnowwing, WINNOWING.com. And there were 2 eggs that I had printed years ago, so I chose to use this egg that was standing upright. I felt like the tilted egg needed another angle over here, and I don't know why they didn't add that. This egg is pretty equal, so I don't know. But I kind of wish I'd have used that. I think that would have been cute, having them tilted all around in different directions. So I will share those links. I'll be sure and put them on my blog. The eyes and the feet of the chick were supposed to be embroidered. I chose not to do that. I was going to paint the legs and feet on with some acrylic paint, but since I added this green piece for grass, I just felt like my chicks could be sitting. I did end up using some acrylic paint and the end of some paintbrush handles, and I experimented with those on a piece of scrap. I took a dryer sheet and just folded it up a whole bunch and experimented. Here are the 2 that I ended up choosing. A small one for my little chick and a bigger one for the big chick, which was essentially the mama, and just practiced. And those 2 paintbrush handles did really nice, and so those are what I used. A brand new pencil eraser works really well too if you ever need to make polka dots or eyes. So, and I used just a little bit of ribbon, a little bit of gross grain ribbon for my holder, and that was tricky. You have to really think about that while you're layering it in there, and because you're going to turn it wrong side out to get the right side out. And so, but I think they turned out pretty cute. So as usual, if you have any questions, be sure and let me know.